Hello everyone, my name is Jennifer and welcome to Best Kept Plans. Today's video is my TBR for January 2026. Super excited to chat with you all about the books that I want to read this month. If you're interested in seeing that, please stick around. As I said in my introduction, today's video is going to be a look at my January 2026 TBR. I'm very excited for a new year of reading. I'm very excited for the 6 books that I have on my TBR for this month. I have decided to do my TBRs in 2026 very similarly to how I did them in 2025. I am going to continue with using TBR prompts or cards to pick the books that are on my TBR. I have two sets of cards from Fleur on Sunday as well as a set from Pippi Post, and I used the Fleur on Sunday cards for the first 6 months of 2025. I used the Pippi Post cards for the last 6 months of 2025, and for 2026 I decided that I'm going to pick 3 cards from my Fleur on Sunday packs and 3 cards from my Pippi Post packs for every TBR this year. So you're going to see that as I'm talking about the different prompts and the different books that I have on my January 2026 TBR. So let's talk about the first prompt for January 2026, and that is to read a book with 3 or more words in the title. Now, the way that I ended up doing this and the way that I ended up picking several of the books on my TBR for January is that I went through my bookshelves, my physical TBR, and I pulled out every book that had 3 or more words in the title, and then I used a random number generator to choose the book that ended up fulfilling this prompt. And what ended up getting picked is House of Salt and Sorrows by Erin A. Craig. This is the first book in either a duology or a series. I know that this is a young adult fantasy. I really enjoy young adult fantasy. I don't know anything about this, but I feel like I've seen it online a couple of times and the response has been positive overall. So I'm very, very excited to give this a read in January. The next prompt for January 2026 is to read a book that matches the current season. We are in the season of winter, and so what I ended up doing is I kind of looked through all of my books on my physical TBR. The ones that had obvious seasonal representation, I kind of either pulled them out or didn't. And then I Googled a bunch of them and basically pulled out every single one that took place in the winter or had very heavy winter climate or themes throughout, and then used a random number generator to pick the book that I was going to read, and it ended up settling on Blood Over Bright Haven by M.L. Wang. I have heard nothing but incredible things about this book, and so it's one that I was really, really hoping to get to early in 2026, and I've actually decided this is going to be my first read of 2026. I know that this is a standalone that definitely is very appealing to me. It's fantasy, and that's really all that I know. I'm excited to go into this blind, but knowing that so many people really, really enjoyed this. Our next prompt for January 2026 is to continue a series that you've already started. And there were several books that I could have chosen for this prompt, but I very specifically wanted to choose this one, and that is The Book That Broke the World by Mark Lawrence. This is the second book in a trilogy. I read the first book, The Book That Wouldn't Burn, in January of 2025, and I absolutely loved it. It was my 3rd favorite book of 2025, and I've wanted to get back into the series ever since reading it, but I've also been pretty intimidated to get back into the series because I love book 1 so much that I don't anticipate loving books 2 and 3 as much as I did book 1. And so I've kind of put this off for quite a while, but I don't want to put it off anymore. I really, really want to read this. I really want to read book 3, and I'm excited that I was able to work it into my TBR for January. Our next prompt is to read a book that was gifted to you. And when I get prompts like that, I always like to choose an ARC or a review copy or an ALC. And so I decided to go with A Killer Kind of Romance by Letizia Lorini. I don't know anything about this, but I was excited to get a romance on my TBR for January. I'm a little hesitant with this one because it's incredibly long. I think that the title is intriguing me. I'm excited to figure out what this book is going to be about. Our second to last prompt for my January 2026 TBR is to read a book based in a foreign country. And I picked this book like I did a few of my others. I pulled out all of the books on my shelves that took place in foreign countries, used a random number generator, and it came up with Welcome to the Hyunam-Dong Bookshop by Hwang Bo-Reum. I know that this is a cozy story. I believe it's a cozy fantasy, and I really, really hope that that's true because in 2025, I definitely leaned into cozy fantasies and cozy mysteries. Not a ton of them, but enough that it made me realize that I really like those twists on those genres. And I'm excited to have something that's in that cozy realm, given that I have a couple of more intense looking fantasies on my TBR this month. I don't know anything else about this, but I have seen people speak about this book very positively, and I'm excited to give it a read. Our last prompt for January 2026 is to read a book that starts with the word the. I definitely had a lot of books on my shelves that I could have used to fulfill this prompt. And I want to start out with saying that I picked my January 2026 TBR very, very early. I usually pick my TBR for the month in the last week of the month prior. But for some reason, I picked my December TBR and my January TBR in the last few days of November 2025. So I booked my January 2026 TBR over a month early. I never do that. And I had just rearranged my bookshelves, so I feel like I was like motivated to do so. And to pick this book, I did pull out all of the books on my physical TBR that started with the word the and then used a random number generator. And when it came up with this book, I feel now in hindsight like the universe was just trying to put this author's energy in my orbit. And that's because the book that was chosen for this prompt is The Burnout by Sophie Kinsella. For those that may not be as familiar, Sophie Kinsella also writes under the name Madeline Wickham. And I have several Madeline Wickham books on my shelves that I have not read yet. But I have read almost everything by Sophie Kinsella except for this. I have loved her books for many, many, many years. I think she's a fantastic author. She unfortunately passed away in December 2025. And so I feel like the universe knew that I was just going to want to pick up the only book under this pen name that I haven't read yet. And I'm so grateful that this is on my TBR. I'm so excited to read this and also feel very bittersweet about it. But I am looking forward to it. And I am very happy that I still have many Madeline Wickham books that I have not read yet that I can go to in the future months and years to get my fix of this incredible author's writing. That is the last book on my January 2026 TBR. I really am very much looking forward to this TBR. I think there's just such a great stack of books waiting for me, and I'm ready to dive into a new month and a new year of reading. If you have read any of the books that are on my TBR for January, please do not hesitate to put some spoiler-free thoughts down below. And as always, everyone, please be safe. Bye-bye.